Alright, so today we're looking at part 2 of Big Ed and Liz on season 7 of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. Previously, the pair went to check out a possible venue for their engagement party with two of Liz's best friends. There, they grilled Big Ed on his behaviour in the relationship so far, which he blamed on his own issues and immaturity. When the topic of conversation moved on to the party, Big Ed revealed that he wasn't sure who exactly would be attending, as he hasn't spoken to his mum or daughter in months, due to the fact that they don't approve of his relationship with Liz. After leaving the venue, Ed then went to meet his former best friend Rich to confront him for turning his mum against Liz even further, and told him to either get behind the relationship or leave them alone for good. In today's video, Liz introduces Big Ed to her friend Bery, who gives him another grilling. The pair have a heartbreaking discussion about the possibility of having a kid together, and Liz joins Big Ed on a photography shoot with a model that he just can't keep his eyes off. But first, Big Ed just got back from his chat with Rich, so Liz wants to know how it went, but she's understandably a little bit apprehensive.
I don't think we're very strong in our relationship right now, but every time he's always hung out with Rich, he always broke up with me.
We've never heard the truth about this whole breakup thing, have we? Big Ed said in the tell-all that it was his friend who sent all 8 breakup texts, and from what Liz just said there, I'm guessing that friend was Rich. But in the last episode, Ed bragged to Rich's face about how he was the one who broke up with her 8 times. So which one was it, Ed? Either way, whether Rich wrote the text himself or he was just encouraging it, he clearly had a big part to play in their issues.
Do you want him in your life?
You're my priority.
For me right now, I'm not okay with him.
Okay. I only want your acceptance, your daughter's acceptance, and Leon's.
Good to know Big Ed's got his priorities straight, and he's actually being really understanding and reassuring for once. I wasn't expecting him to have such a healthy and mature response to all of this. It probably came as quite a shock to Liz too, because he'd usually try and twist this kind of situation to make Liz feel bad for making him choose. And apparently he'd always come back from these talks with Rich being very argumentative, being like, well, Rich said this and Rich said that. So good on him for thinking for himself for once. I mean, it's hardly an atonement for all of his sins, but this is Big Ed, so baby steps.
I'm luckier to have Liz, but yeah, I do miss Richard. We did a lot of things together. He was kind of my right arm. I choose you.
So next up, the pair are off to meet Liz's childhood friend, Bery. He and Liz have been friends since they were young, and having seen her suffer through all of her bad relationships, he wants to make sure that Big Ed is the right one and that he isn't going to be causing her any more pain. Bery ends up asking pretty much the exact same questions that Liz's other 2 friends did in the last video. Like, you broke up with her 8 times, it's been really toxic so far, how is this any different?
So I had a lot of insecurity that I was dealing with, but I love her. I want to take care of her. Like, I bought her a new car. Oh, yeah.
It's such a weird flex. Bery didn't even mention money. Everything he asked about was to do with emotional support and security. I actually wonder what made Ed want to add this to the answer that he gave Liz's 2 female friends. Like, I wonder if he's flexing his financial muscle here because he thinks it will appeal to another guy, or if he just thought to himself after the conversation with the girls that he wished he had thrown it in and seized the opportunity to do so this time. Either way, financial stuff aside, although Big Ed is often all talk and no waddle, Liz does say that she's noticed a change in how he's treating her this time around.
Ed's jealousy was a huge issue. I felt possessed for a little while, and we would fight a lot about that. But seeing his growth, I do feel a huge change in our trust.
It's nice to hear because he was really putting Liz through it in their first few seasons together. Like, she needs some peace for a while. Big Ed is actually making an okay first impression on Bery so far, so inevitably he ruins it with what is possibly the cringiest thing he has ever said on camera.
Excuse me 1 second, I'm gonna go use the potty. I gotta go potty. She hates when I say that.
I hate when I'm like, let's use big words.
Pee-pee.
He is just such an odd guy. There are some things in a relationship that just stay in a relationship. It's like over-the-top public displays of affection or couples who do the baby voice to each other. When you're in a relationship, stuff like that might seem adorable to you, but to everyone else, it's sickening. I know this is a show based on relationships, so us suffering that is kind of on us, but he didn't need to put Bery through that against his will. Anyway, Big Ed toddles off to change his diaper, and Liz and Bery move on to more serious topics, starting with the last big breakup.
I didn't expect to love him as much as I felt for him.
Yeah.
So that breakup was rough. And I just get scared when we do fight because I'm like, oh my gosh, is he gonna break up with me?
Well, he'd be a damn fool if he broke up with you, that's for sure.
Interesting to hear that despite the changes, they are still having their big arguments. Well, after that intense conversation, Big Ed comes back to the table briefly, and Bery says that he likes what he sees and how far they've come together, but that he'll still be keeping a close eye on Big Ed for now. Next, Ed and Liz go to the motorcycle store to look at buying another Vespa. Whilst they're there, Liz tells the owner that Riley called Ed out as they left, being like, you already have 4 Vespas and you only need 3, one for you, one for mum, and one for me when I grow up, so why do you need another one? And so the owner, who's also Ed's friend, says that they might need one down the line because Riley might have a little sister or a little brother on the way someday, which they all laugh off. But then, in the middle of a little test drive with Big Ed's scooter club, they pull over, and Liz brings up the mention of them maybe having kids together someday, asking Ed if that's something he'd even still be open to at his age.
I just want to be a part of Riley's life. I want to be her stepdad. I mean, I'll always keep my options open. My boys are frozen. They're like, Mommy, where was I? You're up in Los Angeles in a freezer.
So this has actually been a source of confusion in this saga before. When I covered the rumours that Liz might be pregnant, a lot of people asked how that could be possible, given we saw Big Ed's vasectomy vlog in the Single Life Season 1 tell-all. So yeah, not only are vasectomies reversible, albeit with varying success rates, but he also froze some of his little Eds. I wonder what they'd look like under a microscope. I'm sickened but curious. Anyway, as a result, he now has around 10 more years to make the decision, meaning he could still be a father to a newborn at age 66. Ed then asks Liz what she thinks, and she says that she's not sure. She says that she's worried about bringing a kid into the world, given young adults these days can barely afford their rent, can't get on the property ladder, and so on, and says that she's already worried about Riley's future in that sense. Then, Big Ed asks her what her pregnancy with Riley was like, and she responds saying that she went through most of it alone, before making an even more heartbreaking confession.
I lost 2 other babies after Riley.
Oh.
So, I don't want to put my body through that or not be able to go full term with the child again. So, yeah.
That is rough. Good on Big Ed for being quietly comforting here. I can't imagine what this must have been like for Liz, but I remember my mom telling me she went through the same thing in between my brother and sister being born, and that still chokes her up 20 years later. Plus, it's not just emotional scars it can leave you with either.
I also only have 1 tube left. So I'd want another baby, but at the same time, getting pregnant for me is like a health scare.
That's hard. That's hard.
Wow, that got a lot deeper than I was expecting. And credit to Ed, he's being really supportive. Saying less is definitely a good thing when it comes to him, so just acknowledging that it was hard for her, and still is, was definitely a good way to go. Understandably, she has all of these concerns about going through a pregnancy again, but on top of that, she's also worried, given how on and off their relationship is, about the risk of having to raise another child all on her own if the pregnancy does go okay, but they end up breaking up again. Maybe getting married will give her the reassurance she needs that this really is it for Ed, that he's ready to settle down and commit and work on a healthy long-term relationship, even if that didn't go too well for him the first time around. Anyway, after that emotional conversation, the pair head home before heading out again in the evening. This time, Liz's friend Alex, who's a model, wants to have some professional photos taken. And because Big Ed was a professional photographer for around 18 years, she's asked him if he can take them. Now, this might have been set up by producers, but Big Ed was actually quite a successful and well-established photographer in his time. He even has 6 fashion magazine covers to his name. In fact, he's such a pro with a camera that Liz has asked if she can come along so that he can teach her a thing or two about photography.
Pretty dark.
I know, it is pretty dark. But again, I brought some extra lighting, so I need you to carry all the equipment up that big hill right there.
Yeah, I'll show you a proper gun show.
Charming Ed. He's not brought her along for a lesson, he's brought her along for free labour. I say that in jest, and they kind of did too, but he actually did make her carry a lot of the stuff. And then when they were setting up, he made her put up the lights and move them around for him. I mean, she is there to help him out too while she learns, but it's just such a funny dynamic to watch.
Drop your head just a little bit more. Nice, beautiful, nice. So I'm at 396. I'm going to drop it to 380. Again, these are just numbers to you, but what I'm trying to do is just correct my lights.
My word, getting a lesson from Big Ed about anything would be absolutely infuriating. I know he's just trying to teach her, but he sounds so patronising and condescending. Like, of course they sound like just numbers to her, so tell her what increasing and decreasing the numbers does exactly. Just saying he's changing them to correct the light doesn't help her. And also, I get that he's supposed to fill the model with confidence by saying flattering things, but he needs to be careful that he doesn't go too far.
It's a lot easier when, your subject's beautiful. All right. Well, that's kind of cute. Do that again. Okay, nice. Okay.
I think it's possible that Ed does like photography because he does get to flirt with women. I just really thought that he'd be engaging more with me.
Well, she's surely right about the first thing, isn't she? Having beautiful women pose for him all day must be Big Ed's dream. He was probably out in public taking photos of them on the sly and realised one day that he could be getting paid to do it, and that was probably the most exciting realisation of his life. To be fair, he's not doing a lot wrong here. It would just be nice for him to give a bit of reassurance to Liz, and to give her a bit of attention too. But that kind of extra thoughtfulness doesn't usually come naturally to Ed.
See how you can, there's like a vertical line right through her eyebrow, through the kind of the front of her chest. That's my style, not yours. But you might find different things that work for you.
It looks like she has no neck.
I think the brightness on the screen might be too low. That's Big Ed's reflection you're seeing there, Liz. Jokes aside, you can tell that she's mad, can't you? This is all clearly frustrating her, and she doesn't care about learning about photography anymore. She just wants to let it out and wind Ed up in return.
No, it doesn't.
Well, like here. I mean, that's just my thought. It looks like...
Yeah, don't ever say that in front of her. No, there's nothing wrong with this picture at all.
Yeah, I think him complimenting the model in front of Liz made her a little insecure, so now she's trying to dent his ego in return. Ed is right as well, she shouldn't say that in front of the model, even if it is her friend. But it's so funny to see him squirm at someone else saying something inappropriate for a change. It's usually us watching in pain going like, you can't say that, Ed.
Okay, well...
You're not here to critique my work.
No.
I'm trying to teach you what I'm doing.
I'm not critiquing, I'm trying to tell you what I like.
Right, but it's what the model wants.
I love how he's bringing Alex on his side to make it 2 versus 1 against Liz, when he hasn't even asked Alex if she likes the photos. And I love the little cuts over to her as she sits there uncomfortably, just not knowing how to react. The neck comment will have made her feel a little bit awkward, but nowhere near as awkward as being caught in the middle of all this bickering.
Babe, you're the student. I'm training you.
You didn't train me the whole time you were training her.
It took me 18 years to get here.
Well, you're not listening to how I feel. You didn't really teach me anything.
Okay.
So.
Sorry, babe. Here, let's look at these again. So.
Oh my gosh, stunning.
Yeah, Ed hasn't handled this too well, but Liz hasn't made it easy for him either. She stormed off, so he probably would have done well to go after her, but he is doing a job here. And if he did, it could have made things so awkward for Alex. Although, to be fair, she seems to not really care about any of this as soon as she sees how she looks in the photos. Simply stunning.
Ed doesn't care about my opinions, and I don't feel like Ed's being a good partner right now. I'm so embarrassed to be fighting in front of my friend. Ed really pisses me off.
You actually know what you're doing.
This is...
It's so inevitable, isn't it? He did so well with the conversation with Liz after meeting Rich, he made a good first impression on Bery, and he even handled the delicate pregnancy conversation well. But something had to go wrong because it always does with him. And to be fair, I think Liz definitely played her part in this one. If she had just said to him early on like, this is making me feel a little bit insecure, can you give me some reassurance and some attention too? The whole thing could have been fine. But she let her frustration build up, took it out on Big Ed and his work, which made him feel insecure and awkward, and the whole thing just spiraled. Stuff like this is exactly why people say that communication is key, and they're both just so bad at it. And to highlight that even further, next time they're going to confront each other about the evening's events, and of course, it turns into a huge fight. So please feel free to subscribe down below if you want to catch that next episode as soon as it's out, as well as keep up with the rest of the saga. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.